In this presentation, we will try to understand what is static function in C. So let's get started. Let's first try to understand the basics related to static functions in C. In C, functions are global by default. This is a very important point to understand. Whenever you define a function, it is by default global. Now, what does it really mean? This means that if we want to access the function outside from the file where it is declared, we can access it very easily. If we want to access the function which is global outside the file where it is declared, then we can access that function without any problem. Okay? Now, if we want to restrict this access, then we can make our function static by simply putting a keyword static in front of the function. If we put static keyword in front of the function, then we can restrict its access. This means no other file can access this function except the file where it is declared. Okay? After understanding these basics, now let's try to understand the usefulness of static function with the help of an example. Inside this project static functions, we have two files, file1.c and main.c. Inside this main.c file, we are trying to access this function whose definition is available inside the another file, which is file1.c. This is the definition of the function fun, where we are trying to add these two numbers a and b, and with the help of this function we want to return the result of this addition back to the calling procedure. Okay, and then finally we want to print this sum. Please note down this point that this function is global function, because whenever we define a function, by default it is global. Therefore, main.c file can access this function very easily. Let's try to execute this code and see what will happen. Yes, output is 7. This means we can access this function through this main.c file, right? Now let's make this function static by putting a static keyword in front of this function. This function is now static. This means that main.c file could not be able to access this function, right? Let's execute this code and see what will happen. Yes, it produces the error undefined reference to function fun, which is correct. This function fun is not visible outside this file. That is why main.c file cannot access this function fun. The scope of this function is within this file only, and no other file within the same project can access this function. This is what we need to understand about the static functions. Okay? Let me remind you that you can create projects by clicking File, New, then Project, and then you can choose Console Application and then click on Go. Then after that click on Next, then choose C, click Next, enter the project title you want, then click Next, and then finally click on Finish. This will create the project, and main.c is by default created inside this project. This file1.c is the file that I created by myself by clicking on this new file button. Okay? Whenever you execute this main.c file, it will automatically get linked with file1.c. This is how the projects can be created. Now let's get back to our slides. There are some important takeaways for you. First is, static functions are restricted to the files where they are declared. As I already told you, whenever you declare a static function, then it is restricted to the files where they are declared. No other file can access that function. Apart from this, reuse of the same function in another file is possible. This means you can create a function with the same name in another file without any conflict. Okay friends, this is it for now. Thank you for watching this presentation.